Hey everybody, welcome to another Making a Geek podcast where we talk about everything pop culture and beyond. I am Damien DiCarlo. I am joined with my lovely co-host here, James Creviston. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? I'm good. I love that you called me your lovely co-host because I feel like that wasn't
You
intentional, but
are. You are so lovely. And with that little background and everything, I actually love you even more.
yeah, well, it's our background, so
It's
it's
our
good to
background.
go.
Super stoked. I'm just going to get right into it. We have a guest waiting with us on our show today. Our guest today is in the directing and visual effects field. He is responsible now for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Patterson cut, as it's being called. Please welcome Kai Patterson.
Hello,
Yay.
it's great to be here. Thank you.
It is so good to have you, man. There's just been so much talk about this movie. I'm gonna let you kind of get into it in a bit, but first I want to get to know you a little bit more. Where are you from, and what is it exactly that you like to do as far as directing and visual effects?
Sure, yeah. I am originally from Hawaii, and then as a teenager, moved to St. Louis, Missouri. A little bit of a culture shock there.
I bet.
Yeah, and then after college, I moved to LA. So I'm in LA now, and yeah, I mean, I've been a filmmaker since I was like 5 years old. I watched Jurassic Park when I was a kid. And at first, I thought I wanted to be a paleontologist. But then I realized that what I loved about that movie was that it like totally immersed you in such a believable world that if you think about it, is actually like pretty insane. But I just loved the way that Spielberg was able to put you in such a crazy scenario, but make it feel so real. And then
Absolutely.
I started watching all of the like behind the scenes stuff, and I just loved everything that ILM was able to do, um, and just like the magic of that and the magic of visual effects is something I've been obsessed with since I was a kid. So yeah, then I'd say that directing is probably my favorite thing, but I love every part of the process. Like editing is so huge in the story too that like I feel like to be a good director, you have to understand all the different parts. So I was even like a child actor. My mom had me and my siblings like do commercials and stuff when we lived in Hawaii, and I was actually on the show Lost a few times just because they were filming there. So like I've just been around production and movies and all that my whole life, and so I guess that's why I decided that maybe I should try my hand at Star Wars. And Star Wars has always been just a huge love of mine. And I did the Obi-Wan edit not because I like think that I can do better than the professionals that work at Lucasfilm, but I sincerely understand the privilege that I had of like complete freedom, because I know that like everybody that worked on that show has somebody higher up that they need to please, and you know whatever creative decision they might want to do, they have to get approval and stuff, and I didn't need to do that. So I know that I had an extreme privilege on that. But
Yeah, and that's something that I can kind of relate a little bit, just as far as I guess passion. It sounds more of a job for you. Paying bills is great, but for me, I don't get paid for it, but I have a passion of screenwriting, and I've done that for numerous amount of times and long time for many years. But what I really enjoy is that what you were mentioning, that freedom to be able to just kind of have full reins as to telling your story, expressing a very great narrative that you feel that everyone else will enjoy. Great, awesome privilege to be able to show someone your work and make them appreciate it. And I know you, James, do that a little bit too. You've done writing as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is it's every aspect of making a film or making a show or any of that stuff is difficult, and I always tell people, I always have to remind people it's made three times, right? So what you're talking about is these decisions, things are made three times. The script was written, that's the first time it's made. It's shot, that's the second time it's made, and it's edited, that's the third time it's made. So by the time it gets to all of us, the viewing public, it's been changed a million times, unless you're like Quentin Tarantino or somebody like that who can or Kevin Smith or whatever, you can write it, shoot it, edit yourself. You have in your mind what it's going to look like. But what you did there and what Disney was dealing, Disney also is dealing in the money making business, right? If
Right.
they give you a 2.5 hour movie, whatever, that's a one time shot. But if they give you 6 episodes of a show, you're coming back 6 times. So in the return on investment thing for them, this is the better bet. That being
Absolutely.
said, that
Yeah.
being said, the Patterson cut is the best version of this show.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that. I want to know, first
Just
of all,
FYI, just so you know.
I appreciate that.
what straight off, Kai, like what made you want to do this? Were you watching this already going, oh, I know parts I can already edit this out? Or did you get bored at those parts? Was it just something that you saw a second run, then decided to do this?
Yeah, I'm definitely like, as I was watching it, I had no intention of changing anything for myself. But like my girlfriend and I would watch it together and we would just like constantly talk about like, why would they do this? Or like, this doesn't make sense to me. Or like the pacing just feels off. Or even the order of scenes feels weird. And so we would constantly talk back and forth. And I have to give her huge credit too, because like she has such incredible ideas and we would always bounce like our ideas off of each other. And
Right.
she was, I mean, obviously she was the first person that I like showed my, cut to, which didn't even have like any of the visual effects that I added later. Just because I was like, I need somebody else to like also validate that like the things that I wanted to change made sense. And a lot of the things that I did change were based off of conversations that we had together of like how it could be better. And then I think, but when I was starting it, I had no idea that it was supposed to be a movie. That didn't come out until I was like halfway through editing. So my whole idea was I just wanted to like see what would happen if I started cutting down the episodes, just cutting out their fluff. And when I did my first pass, like I just started with the first episode. I was like, I want to see what happens when I start with the first episode. And I like ended up cutting a lot of the first episode out and rearranging it. And then I was like, maybe, maybe this could be possible. I didn't know what it was going to turn into, but by the time I had finished all 6 episodes, it literally was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I was like, I don't know how I did that, but it worked out perfectly. And I didn't even like shoot for a time. And
Yeah.
then after the first viewing with my girlfriend, I did end up adding some other stuff back in, which is how it ended up being 2 hours and 29 minutes.
You were inspired by the force.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
It just
The
flowed
force
through
was
you.
with you.
definitely.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you straight up, as I was watching this, first thing that went through my mind so far, loving the fact that we don't have to wait for Obi-Wan to be crossing the desert every couple of scenes. Like it's getting, you know,
It was just so
kind of
repetitive.
it's right. It's getting to a point where like, okay, like we get the filler, but we kind of just take it for what it is as a fan. You're looking at it and you're like, well, this is awesome that this show's happening. Okay, just hurry up past that and let's get back to business here. But in this case, it all flowed to where it was just that. It was getting to the point. And it takes a certain kind of mind to do that. I think it would be in the mind of either a director or a screenwriter to kind of start realizing this is the fluff. This is not the fluff. This is important, vital. Is that something that you had practice with your films? Is this is why you were so good at determining what to cut?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly critiquing everything that I watch just because I think a lot of filmmakers would have the same experience. But when you know how things are made in the film industry, you have a totally different eye for like what is happening in each scene. Like on a lot bigger sets, I can see like, oh, this was probably rushed because they have 100 people waiting for them to be finished and they've got millions of dollars on the line if they go 2 hours over schedule and stuff like that. And like, so I can feel things like that. And I also like, I know as a filmmaker too, when I'm editing something and I know the hard work that it took to put together a scene, I'm more likely to be biased towards that and keep it in, even if it doesn't serve the story. But just because I'm like, I went through so much to get this shot, I want people to see it. And it actually might be detrimental to the story. And I feel like that's also kind of a freedom that I had doing this cut, is like I have no attachment to the production of this.
Right.
And so just my own interpretation of what's important and what's not, I could make that decision not based on like, oh, we spent so much money on this, like, or all the VFX artists would be really sad if I cut this, but really just focusing on a story, which is, I think, what most people identify with in all media, is just the story that it tells.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I really liked about your cut, can we jump into that? Can we jump into what we
jump in?
liked?
Jump in.
All right.
Water's
So what
fine.
really what I liked about your cut more than anything is you gave the story back to Obi-Wan, because if you watch it in the original series, it's more Reva. It's more her story with some
Absolutely.
intercuts of Obi-Wan, and then the intercuts, and we also get Luke's story, which you cut a lot of, thank goodness, because that we get Luke's story, right? We have episode 4, 5, 6. We know Luke's story. We don't need the rest of that. We get a Leia origin story. We get Obi-Wan afterwards, and we get this small amount of Reva, which is perfect. It makes her the perfect villain, because otherwise you feel sorry for her the entire time, and you think she's not that powerful. Everyone talks down to her. She's kind of terrible, and she was a great actress. So it like sucked that they made her this secondary kind of haphazard Sith, so to speak. So you did every character justice. You gave me enough Luke to know, okay, that's how we know Obi-Wan's watching over Luke. You gave me all the Leia story. You cut her kidnapping down, which was fantastic. That was perfect to me. I can literally go through everything that I wrote a whole thing of like everything I loved about it. There was only one thing I hated about it, and it wasn't even your fault. I still hate the ship fake out scene. I hate that scene more than anything. I think Darth Vader's not that stupid. You guys are made me mad. It's not you. That wasn't even you. But that's still me. I hate the shape fake out scene.
Yeah, actually, on that specific thing, I did have somebody message me who said, I think that they were working on their own cut, and I don't know if I can find it in my DMs. But if you know that you message me, you'll know that I'm talking about you. But they were saying that they really wanted to rearrange that whole part so that as Obi-Wan is or as Vader is ripping apart the ship, that's when Reva comes in and tries to strike him, and then the transport leaves. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. I don't know, like I would have to look at that scene again just to see what I'm working with, to see if that would even work. But like in terms of order of how things could have gone, I think that would have been actually really great. It would have distracted Vader enough for them to get away, and then then he'd be like, oh, Obi-Wan was wise to use you against me. So I think that that's a great, and that's what I love too about sharing this, is like I'm getting so many DMs of like things that I could improve my work on too, but also things that other fans interpreted as better ways things could go. And I was like, yeah, I didn't even think about those things, but those work really well too.
Now I do have a question for you. I'm sorry. Can I ask one question real quick?
Go for it.
Because I know you did some editing. The Mapuzo scene where he sees Anakin on the plains, did you add that other scene where you see his yellow eyes? And that was that you add? Because I couldn't remember. I was like, did that happen in the thing, or am I just imagining it? Okay, good. Because it really amped it up more, where it's like Obi-Wan has PTSD, basically, right? That's what we're supposed to feel like. And so you amped that up a lot. Honestly, you made everything less clunky. The entire scene at the Fortress Inquisitus better. That's a better scene. You made Talia's death scene feel more Rogue One-ish, like a Rogue One type death scene. Like, and the music was amazing. Even the final fight scene with Vader and Obi-Wan, which felt like really pulled out in the show, was compressed and moved fast and felt like a really good fight scene, as opposed to this fight, chase, which was like, okay, come on, guys, no one's gonna be running here. It's time to, you both have lightsabers, go at it, and you made
time to wrap up the chase.
yeah. I mean, it was good. And even the early chase where Obi-Wan gets lit on fire and stuff, that moves way faster. Like, I loved your pacing. You obviously have a good eye for editing. Disney should hire you to edit more movies. Disney, if you're listening, hire this guy, because I'll watch every one of his cuts and I'll pay double for it. So do it now.
He does have a good eye. He does have a good eye. It's almost like he has two of them. So what I was going to say was in agreeing here with you, James, 100%. I have to say something about the music. So you put in a lot of original John Williams score, and I know it very well, as I'm sure that the three of us all unanimously will say. Is this, and it felt obviously very nostalgic. Was this something that was purely for the reason of you being a fan of it, or do you feel that it moved the pace better just by editing?
Yeah, there were a couple of different reasons for all the music changes that I made. Some of them were purely for better transitions because I was rearranging scenes and stuff. Like the original music obviously waxes and wanes from the pace that they set. And when I would do cuts and rearrange things, then it just sounded jumbled. And so sometimes I was like, I
Right.
purely need like just a transition music. So I used some transitional music. But sometimes I was like, I don't know, music is obviously so important to any film or any show.
Right.
And there were just times when I really felt like we needed more energy. Uh,
It,
and and I also feel like um, especially the Vader and Obi-Wan fight at the end, I knew that a lot of fans had been saying that they wanted to hear Duel of the Fates
Yep.
just based on the advertising that Lucasfilm did themselves. I think that they kind of put themselves in a bad place when they started
right.
advertising that music and then not using it at all.
Right.
Mhm.
But but I was like, I'm not going to just add that because people want it. Like I want to have a good reason myself to add both Duel of the Fates and Battle of the Heroes, which Duel of the Fates comes first, and then Battle of the Heroes is the second half of that. Um, and in my head, my justification for it was that Duel of the Fates is the first time that Obi-Wan fights a Sith. It's
Right.
the first time that he has to deal with some kind of like external force that is really difficult to beat. And it's part of his story with Qui-Gon.
Mhm.
So I thought that it was just very fitting that the very first half of the fight would be the first time he fought a Sith, and the second half of the fight would be the music from the last time he fought a Sith, which was Anakin.
Right.
And so I wanted that kind of poetic feeling of like, those are both personal songs to Obi-Wan, obviously, to the story of Obi-Wan. And so that was my justification for it. It wasn't just because, you know, fans wanted it. I really felt like it had a personal connection to his growth as a character. And also, I mean, just logically, like, because I cut out that whole, Riva chase thing again, like before,
Mm-hmm.
the music was just so muddled, and I had to find one piece of music that would go through the whole thing, as opposed to like trying to fade in and out all the cuts that I made for the original score, because I just felt like there also needed more energy. Like sometimes it just felt so like lackluster, and it, instead of keeping me in the fight, I was I was like too focused on like, oh, like this seems kind of slow almost, like,
Yep.
and but like having energy in music can really make you feel like it's going faster, even if it's not.
Right.
Right. I think
Now,
that. Oh, good,
no,
James.
no,
Go.
go ahead. Go, go,
I was
no,
just
go.
gonna say, just humor me for a second, because I'm more or less dumb when it comes to the. I mean, not. I dabble in video editing just in terms of this podcast, so I know the basics and I know how to do it, and I know more or less the answer, but I want to hear it more in a technical specs here when it comes to you removing. How did you remove the dialogue to be blended with your audio putting in here? Like, how did you do it? What kind of programs did you use? Like, I'm really curious to know how you did it.
Yeah. Well, I was able to acquire 5.1 surround sound version of the film or of the show. And the way that a lot of those channels are set up, and I'm also like very new to like editing 5.1 surround sound. I had to kind of learn to do this project because it's just like a whole nother ball game. But basically, the center channel is usually reserved for dialogue and effects.
Right.
They do have like the music can be heard sometimes if it's really important or impactful on the center channel, but for the most part, if you isolate the center channel, you won't get a lot of music bleed, and so it's a lot easier to change the music. Um, and for times that I needed, like there was music playing over things that I need to change, there's this program called, I think it's lolol.ai, and you can upload your own, audio, and it'll, like, using AI technology, it'll take out the vocals and the music track. It'll separate them. So I was able to isolate some of this, and I did that for like when I needed Qui-Gon's voice from Phantom Menace. Like I would isolate his voice and take out the music, because I think that a lot of times when you watch fan edits, everybody does their best, but if you leave in music but put music over on top of it, it doesn't feel like a cohesive movie that is
Right.
supposed to be that way. And I know that there are some parts that I think I couldn't fix that feeling, and I think probably only people that have done this before, or are like film buffs, could probably hear that. And every time I hear it, I'm like I wish I could fix that, but sometimes you just can't. And but yeah, those were the programs that I used.
So like you see movies differently when you see something. You're just like, I need to jump into this and make it better.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, I think some people are probably annoyed because I am that guy who, like, they'll be like, "Oh, what did you think of this movie?" And I'm like, these are some of the things that I wish I could change, but I did like it. And like I did that with like Jurassic World Dominion. Obviously, I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. It's what like kind of started my career, but like the Jurassic World franchise has not been my favorite, and I really wanted to love it. And so, when people like love something, and then they come to you and they're like, "What do you think?" And you're like, "I really wanted to love it, but I do have some fundamental issues with them." I don't like to be a bummer, but sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I do have opinions on these.
That's awesome. What video editing software do you use? Like I use Final Cut or Final, yeah, for the Final Cut, yeah. So
Yeah,
like, what do you use? In DaVinci?
I use Premiere. I use all Adobe stuff.
Okay.
I do know Final Cut. I've edited a couple of my short films on Final Cut. I think they're all great tools. But for me, I mean, Premiere it just has so many different things that you can do with it, and it's kind of like an industry standard too. So if I
Yeah.
wanted to, work with a lot of other editors that are mostly using like Avid and Premiere for stuff.
Yeah. I
Like,
do want to keep learning Premiere, but I have pushed myself away from it
It,
because I'm
it's
that
a, it's a
guy.
learning curve for sure, but
Yeah.
also I've heard that DaVinci is really good, and it's free. I haven't
Yeah.
gotten into it, but a lot of the people that I talk to about it are like, you definitely got to check that out. Like, it gives you pretty much everything you want in Premiere, but better things too. So that's one of those things I'm like, okay, I'll get on that at some point.
I need a
which
more powerful computer for that. Go ahead,
True.
David.
which of these programs, let's say, would you use in the case of? And I have to give you props on it. It was kind of surprising when I saw the Jedi that was murdered by Riva, and he was hanging without his head. I'm like, that
Mhm.
was not in the original version. I remember that very, very vividly, and it added very, very good to this. And I wanted to know like what you use for something like that. What do you do for that?
Yeah, so specifically for those, I used a combination of After Effects and Blender. So for what I did with Blender is, in that scene where Riva, in my version, cuts off his head and then we cut immediately to something else. Um, I had to take that shot, make a version where his head was gone and you can see the background through that. I also had to take out her lightsaber, because when it goes, when she swings it, it goes right into his like shoulder, and then the Grand Inquisitor stops her and then like shoves her off to the side. So I had to remove the lightsaber on the shoulder, and then I went into Blender and set up the scene in 3D so that I could have a 3D lightsaber like swing past the camera to about the spot where his neck would be, and then I composited that into the shot with After Effects, so that it looked like she cut off his head, but still was cohesive with the rest of the thing. Because if I had like recreated the whole thing in 3D, like I'm a visual effects artist, but like I don't think I could have recreated it well enough that people, I didn't want it to be a distraction. So I just,
Right.
tried to do as much as I could. And then for him hanging beheaded, I just used After Effects to track the shot. And then I painted, like, I literally just like, I have like a pen that I can use on my computer, and I just painted the neckline to look like it was cut, and then obviously removed all the his head, and then there's like ropes too that I had to kind of like draw back in so that it looked, yeah. But I was also I was planning on like adding like a sign on it, because a lot of people, and I thought of this too, like a lot of people were like, oh wait, if his head is gone, how does Obi-Wan like know that that's the Jedi that he talked to?
Right.
And I was thinking about like adding a little sign in Arabesh that said like Jedi scum or something like that, but I didn't think I could pull it off well enough. And I just didn't want it to be a distraction. So yeah, that could be a little bit of a plot hole, but I think Obi-Wan would assume that,
He could
that's the
sense.
Jedi he talked to.
I'm sure the Force could be sensed still. I mean,
True.
I don't
Yeah.
assume that the Force just immediately leaves the body. I mean, even in science here, right? I mean, there's a little bit of life still in a dead body. So
True.
I would argue that the Force was still surrounding this beheaded Jedi, and I think you could sense it very faintly enough to know. I sense a Jedi here. The one hanging has to be, conclusively the one that's just died here. So I definitely think that's not too far fetched. I think it worked fine.
Now here's a question: can you do the Mandalorian next and add a lot more Western music to it, make it more of the man with no name type situation where you get some jingles and some Western music for spaghetti Western style? That's what I want to see. That
Yeah,
the Mandalorian cut into an actual Western, because it has a Western feel, but I feel like it could be cut into a really good Western.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it could be. I have heard like a lot of people have been wanting me to do Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian or other things. Even people were like, "Oh, these Marvel shows need a movie version too," and like,
Yeah.
I I don't think I care enough about the character Boba Fett to do this. Like Obi-Wan is so special to me that like seeing what the show ended up being, I just like I couldn't the frustration that I had to do something about it. Book of Boba Fett, like, again, it was a fine show. I had fun watching it. I don't know if it, like, through the whole thing, there were definitely things that just frustrated me, but I don't know if it could be fixed in the edit, because some of them are like, I can't fix the biking gangs like bikes. Like I could maybe, but it would just take way too long, and I don't think I care enough about the show to do something like that. But I have heard a lot of people wanting me to do that. But sorry, definitely like Book of Boba Fett, I don't think I would do. I actually really like Mandalorian, so I don't think, like, I think the way that I also just really trust Dave Filoni. So and I'm hoping that any future Star Wars content, I don't have to do something like this either. But yeah, no, I've heard a lot of people.
I'm not saying because I don't like it. I'm not saying because I don't like it. I like it.
Cool,
I just want like a Western, like a real Western style.
You just want
like
more, James. You just want more.
I do. Well, the thing is, you made this such a more a better experience. Like, watching Obi-Wan this way was a better experience for me, where I walked away going, man, that was so cool. Where the other one, I felt like, yeah, there was moments of slog, and just like, you're like, okay, we don't need to see him go back and get cut fish again, and we don't need to see him ride the thing again, and we don't need to see Leia run away and then run away again, and we don't like you. There was a lot of different pieces that when you trimmed it, I was like, he trimmed all the fat, which is what we're always told to do as filmmakers, trim the fat, and made something where I was like, yes, this is what, if you would have put this in the theaters, everyone went and seen it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things. Mm-hmm. But I also do feel like there's a lot of TV shows or a lot of series that drag things out just to fill the time now. Like, I'm watching Stranger Things with my daughters, and honestly, there are some times in the show where I'm like, why is this scene even here? This scene is so unnecessary. Move on. We don't need to see them talk for 45 minutes about this thing. Let's move on, and let's see monsters, and let's see all the stuff that we're here to see. You could probably take season 1 and 2 of Stranger Things and make it into a 2-hour movie if you really wanted to, and still get all the beats out of it or whatever. And I know there's some people that love Stranger Things are gonna hate me for saying that because I want more of this, I want more of that, I want more Billy, I want more whatever. Great, but there you could have made them into a 2-hour movie or whatever and been fine with it.
A
So
Yeah,
major sequence that you edited out and in Obi-Wan, Kai, that I really appreciated was when you edited out the whole sequence of Owen and Beru fighting to protect Luke. I'm like,
I was gonna say that.
that was a major scene, but I'm like, there really is no point to it. There really
Yeah.
wasn't, and it just it doesn't even fit to the rest of Star Wars. Like, is Luke really gonna remember that? Or if he did, I meant like want to remember it, or is it essential in any way? It's not. It was just an action sequence that it was just nothing. Nothing happened.
Also, she would have killed them. She would have murdered them. There is no reason that
Yeah.
they would have lived through that whole thing.
Yet
She
again, it
killed
makes her
people
look
for
like
much
she's
less-
not powerful, which is what also is pointless about it. Like, what was the point of that? You come across as not powerful anymore. Like, why are you doing
Yeah.
this?
That's the thing
Yeah.
is you made Reva the actually powerful and scary, whereas the rest of the time you're like, she's a second tier character for such a great actress and such a great character. They just like kept down. Like here she is. She's gonna be awesome. Downplay. Oh, she's gonna be awesome again. Downplay. I'm gonna be awesome. Down. I'm like over and over again. I was like, why are you doing this to this amazing character that I really wanted to care about and really was like, this is a powerful Sith. I cannot wait to see this showdown. And they just kept bumming me out every single time. I was like, come on, man. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I get that, and that was one of the things that I definitely wanted to do something about, because I would constantly see articles and all that, and especially the hate that Moses Ingram got too. Like I was just like, guys, she's doing all the things that she's being told, and this is what she's being given. She's doing a great job with all those things, and also just the blatant racism too that I hate in the Star Wars community. And I was like, I want this character to be her best self. I really do want her to like have a spotlight that she didn't have in the show. I personally
Right.
feel like she didn't have in the show.
Yep.
And my girlfriend and I were talking about like, why is it that like we don't feel like she's commanding in any way? Like, and our conversations amounted to like the character, and I talked about this in my TikTok too, but the characters around her, they don't respect her and they're constantly undermining her. And like while scenes in private with them, I think are a little bit better, but they were like in public while she's trying to intimidate people. They're like, stop doing this. You're going too far, blah, blah, blah. Like that, like we get informed on how we feel based on how other characters feel about that character around them. And with them being like, she's annoying us, like blah, 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 as viewers, we are like, oh, she's annoying. If she's annoying to the people that are scary, then she's not scary, she's annoying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I wanted to just like find every moment of that where they were like questioning what she was doing and her like, all the tactics that she went through, which were brilliant to get Kenobi to come out, like
Yeah.
I wanted to highlight those. And I decided I would cut things that made her seem less scary, but also keep what I needed in to show that like they did think she was reckless, which gives her a reason to like go against their wishes. So
Right.
like I had to like toe that line of like, yes, like I'm trying to make her really scary, but also for the sake of the story of what we got, I need them to also be like, she needs to stop doing these things,
Right. And
No.
it's not enough for actors, especially in the Star Wars community and fandom, to get toxic about whether it's racism or any sort of form of equality is being questioned here when it comes to what we consume. There's no place for that, and especially if you're in a film or a show where, let's just say, that isn't prevalent in the show, but the fact that they don't play a more prominent role, like you want to do what you did, which is edit the right parts to make this actress or actor really have a shot here. Because I feel like in this case with Reva, you were completely right. A lot of these scenes were she was just disrespected as a character, and you wanted to make sure that this villain, which should be a villain, should be very intimidating. So I give you props for that. That was great.
It's funny because that's like my third line. Like after the Leia kidnapping, the pacing smoother, I have Riva actually seems more menacing in this cut, where she did not seem as threatening in the original version. I think this is what I appreciated the most. I literally wrote that because for me, that's the thing. I was like, she's so powerful, but everyone's annoyed by her. Like, how am I supposed to enjoy her, and how am I supposed to take her seriously as a villain when everyone's like, "You're going too far. Stop doing stuff, sister. This is your warning." Da da da. I was like, "Come on, man! Like, I can't." After a while, you're just like, "I didn't want to see you anymore." But you made her the menacing villain she's supposed to be, but
Right.
also you the sympathetic backstory that you need for her to see what her reasoning and logic is for all the stuff she does. And it felt better. I felt like, oh my gosh, Riva's an amazing character here. I want now it was like now I want to see more of her. Whereas
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
whereas when I watched the original, I was like, all right, well, I'm glad that's over with. That sucks. I don't want to feel that way, but I
Here's what's
appreciate it.
funny about this cut, and I just realized this. So initially in the show, it felt there wasn't there was a little lack of Obi-Wanism here in the shots and in the film or in the show, and it was more of a Riva story. And here you're trying to make it more Obi-Wan, and it really turned back to how awesome Riva was. So it's back to Riva again.
Well, I mean, they feel even now. They feel like there was
Right.
an even playing field here. Whereas before, it never felt even. You felt like Obi-Wan will kill this chick in 1 second. Like it's over with her. Like when they face off, she's done. She's kind of annoying. She's doesn't know what she's doing. She's reckless. And these guys want to kill her. And if she shows up against Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan's gonna kill her. Game over, right?
Right.
That's not how it felt in this. It felt like they're even keel. Everyone's threatened by her. They know like she's more powerful than them, and that's why they're scared. Not because they feel she's incompetent or whatever other reason they gave. And even Vader had more. It seemed like had more respect for her in this cut. Everything you did made her character come to the level of Obi-Wan and seem like, oh, if they have this fight scene instead of Obi-Wan and Vader having a fight scene, that scene's going to be amazing. And so you made it work. And even when they storm the the place where they go to take off, I forgot what the name of the place was. When they
Tribune.
yeah, and when they go to storm, that seems more intense too. And you're like, man, this is going to be amazing. And even though I'd seen it, I was like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, it still got me. So you did the things to make every character have their defining, shining moments without taking away what they needed, from anyone else. Like, so I appreciate it a lot.
I
Thank you. Yeah.
definitely agree. I think that right now, Kai, you're at this point where you have all this attention, and as we were speaking of toxic fandom, hopefully, I don't know if it's happened already. If anyone starts critiquing you and what you've done, just stay strong, man. Don't don't listen to any of it. Don't read it. It's something that it's
Don't go to
naturally
Reddit. Don't go to Reddit.
don't go to Reddit. It's gonna come out. You're gonna get both ends of things when you're in the spotlight. Whether you're great,
Yeah.
you're not to the people, it doesn't matter. If you love what you're doing and you love it as a fan, I think, in my personal geek opinion, there is no wrong you can do because that is the whole point of being a geek. You're not supposed to be, put in the spotlight to be critiqued. You're just one of the mass of people that love something similar and should stay strong together, loving it together.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I appreciate that. And I mean, at this point, yes, I am getting some negativity too. And it is not anywhere close to the amount of positivity that's coming out from this. So I do appreciate all the people that have come forward and just kind of let me know their thoughts. And also I really like people who also, have other critiques of the work that I did. And they were like, hey, I really did love your edit. These are some things that I don't think worked very well, because this whole process was a great learning experience for me to like understand the pacing of a feature film versus a show, and just like for my own knowledge of like editing a feature film because I've never done that before, and so like this was just great to kind of hone those skills and to hear some critiques of people, whether or not they're also an editor or whatever. Like I definitely listen to everything that people are saying, even if it's super negative. Like I'm I I'm able to recognize things that are like constructive criticism and
Right.
things that are just like this person just wants to hate. Like there are tons of people that I've seen on like IGN did a video, and I would read the comments, and there are tons of people who like obviously they're not going to watch my edit and they have no intention of, but they're
Right.
like just like, this guy sounds like he thinks he knows better, and he must hate Riva, and he must hate these stories, and he must hate what real Star Wars is.
Again, you as an editor, you know what is fluff. That is fluff.
Yeah.
Just trim it out. You don't need it in your life, and I think you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You inspired me though. You make me want to go back and take season 1 of The Punisher, which is one I am a huge Punisher fan. I grew up on Punisher. Take that and edit it into a 2-hour movie to make it like cut out the fluff that they put in there and just make it this awesome Punisher action movie that just goes off with John Bernthal. And it's probably like I'm probably gonna end up doing it because
That would be
now
really cool.
I'm
Not
so
gonna lie.
excited. I know because they're so good. There's so many pieces of it that were just like, okay, we don't need that. Okay, we don't need that. And like, I really want to take it now and just kind of squeeze it down and make this amazing start to finish Punisher action movie, which is exactly what it should be. You know, so.
Kai,
Yeah,
do you have any? I forgot to ask you because it's so obvious to ask this, but do you have any personal favorites as a fan of Star Wars fan films or any fan film?
Oh man. I'm not like super versed in all the like especially fan edits. Like I've seen a lot of the fan films. I think one of my personal favorites is Star Wars Theory did his Vader fan film, and that one I think was really well
That
done.
was really good. Yeah.
I really like Star Wars Theory, and also to my knowledge at this point, Star Wars Theory hasn't seen my video, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. I feel like he's like all on top of things that blow up in Star Wars, but I do hope that he ends up seeing it because I would be really interested to hear his thoughts. But yeah, I loved his Vader episode, and I think what I look for in other fans is like the ability to love something but also critique it. I think that like that actually makes your bond with that thing much stronger because you can really appreciate the things that you love about it. And when you're getting to the point where you're critiquing something, you're looking at it through an like the next analyzing lens, you know, and it's not just a surface level thing anymore. You can really go, why do I love this thing? And once you identify why you love that thing, you can identify the things that you don't think work out too. And then to me personally, it makes my relationship with the material so much stronger because I know why I love it so much. And that happened with Obi-Wan. And I would say you should definitely do that edit of Punisher, because what I found, you know, as much as I, you know, thought that what we got from Obi-Wan wasn't great, the more I watched it to make my edit, the more I really got an appreciation for all the work that was put into the show. And obviously, if they hadn't made the show, I wouldn't have been able to do this edit. So I'm so grateful that they did the show. And I'm so grateful that we get Star Wars content, you know, from Lucasfilm, because there was a period where, you know, all that we got were like Clone Wars. And I'm also a huge fan of Clone Wars. So like, that was my saving grace of Star Wars for a long time. I was like, I don't know if we'll ever see a movie ever again, but I will take as much Clone Wars material as possible. Yeah. So then when Disney purchased it and they did announce that we were getting more Star Wars, I was ecstatic because I love it. I'll take content over no content always.
There's only one thing I would have wished you would have done something with in the show. There's only one thing that. It's funny enough, my girlfriend and I go on about this part.
If you say Jar Jar Binks, I'm going to be so mad at you.
Yeah, no, not that.
Jar Jar's a Sith. I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, Misa's still a Sith, guys. No, it was actually funny enough the scene where Obi-Wan and little Leia are at that gate with the laser gate, and how all you have to do is just walk around the thing. You could have just put like maybe like a castle or like a gigantic boulder bigger than what was there to block that.
That's so funny because literally I did a screening for one of my friends last night at our place. And when I got to that scene, I had that same feeling where I was like, I really could have done something here. Like even if I
just a big brick wall or something.
A wall, or even if I had extended the beams to go like into the wall or into the rocks or something, like I was like, shoot, like, cause 100% they could have just like walked around. Also, like Obi-Wan's a Jedi, like he could grab Leia and do a little flip over it, but you know,
right.
It's fine.
But it works out. It's fine. We get it. It's a menacing, laser gate, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It'll
Well,
work.
I think the reason they didn't do that is because you see the stormtrooper fall through it and like get cut in half type
Yeah.
thing. So I felt like
Right.
they wanted to keep it like, oh, he can't even cross it because he'll get cut in half type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see it from the one shot and you're like, he could have literally just walked. He didn't have to break it. He could have walked around and just kept like, no biggie, so yeah.
But
Yeah,
other than that,
maybe
no,
if
that's
there's
it.
if there's a 2.0 version, I'll see what I can do about that.
And then just to mess with everyone, like where they have all the other Siths, just have like Jar Jar throw back his thing and stand there like he doesn't even say anything, just and everyone's like, no, it really happened, he really is a Sith, because that was a fan theory for a long time that Jar Jar was a Sith, and like which is
You're right. I could see it now. If he does that, and let's just say Kai makes that animation, I can see the memes now. It'll be Jar
my
Jar doing
gosh.
that, and it'll say, "Throw it back, Jar Jar."
yeah.
I was thinking when I watched it last night, I was like, what I really should have done is when Obi-Wan is like swimming under the I was like, just have like Jar Jar swimming across the frame.
Yes, just in the background.
Then
Oh,
it
man.
just stops. You saw people gonna die, and then just keep going. You're like, what?
Another pointless scene. Jar Jar, thank you. Kai, so before we wrap up, I have to ask you, like, what is in store for you? Obviously, this thing is going to blow. It's already been blowing up. Do you have any future projects you already want to do? Is there something you can tell us that you want to do in terms of any sort of fandom, or is it just your own films you want to focus on?
Yeah. I mean, I do have. I mean, I'm a VFX artist on like an indie feature film, so that's what I've been doing. And just like on my free time, I did this Obi-Wan edit, and but in the future for like my own projects, I did just finish a short film with my mother. It's the 8th silent film we've done together. It's called Over the Moon and Out of This World. And that's on my website. There's a ton of visual effects in it, and it's like a little black and white silent movie about like these World War II pilots and kind of the antics that they get into with some aliens that pop out of nowhere. So that's what I just finished. But I wrote and directed a short film that I'm going to be filming probably in the next couple months. Hopefully, I can get it out. My hope is that it's like out for Halloween or something, but it's basically inspired by like old Twilight Zone episodes. So it's kind of got that eerie feeling. And that is something that I actually had it like ready to film, and I had all the locations and the actors and everything. And then the pandemic hit and I had to cancel it. So it's something that like I really love, and I'm so excited to get back into now that things are kind of opening up again.
Right.
So you wrote it as well. That's the
Yeah.
Caligo Cuckoo.
Caligo Cuckoo. Yeah, I wrote that, and I'm gonna direct it, and I'm super excited for it. One of my friends who I've known for a very long time, she's producing it with me, and yeah, we're just super excited to do that, and hope to have that out soon. So that's what I'm on to next. And then just in general, I have a couple of novels that I've written that I really want to publish soon. I was thinking about going the self-publishing route, or just like honestly giving it away for free. Just now that I've seen what, like with this Obi-Wan edit, just like giving your content away for free. Like as much as I would love to make money off of stuff, like sometimes going the free route at least gets your story out there and people notice. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do about those novels, but one of them in particular, I'm very excited about because it's kind of got a whole world associated with it. It's almost like my own epic, if kind of like Star Wars and Jurassic Park combined. So yeah, super excited for those. There's a ton of stuff.
And so when you're not busy, then also you'll be hired by me to edit my podcast, right?
Yeah, totally.
I don't think we can afford them.
You're only going to get the good bits, which will be just, it won't be any of me in it, and it's just going to be James talking to himself, basically.
Yeah, I did work. My last full-time job was I was a podcast editor for a year and a half. So I did do that for a long time.
Was it
Okay.
video and audio, or just audio, or all of
Video
the
and
above?
audio, yeah.
Yeah, good job. Now, the other thing that I've heard, just so you know about the novel thing, I've heard that if you give the first one away, especially if it's like a trilogy or like a series, giving the first one away and then charging for the rest usually helps, because then you build a fan base off the first one. They go, I want to read the second one, and now you have a built-in fan base that will buy the book. So, and also, if you're saying it's Star Wars meets Jurassic Park, I mean, come on, I'm totally into that. How are you not gonna like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's
Well,
honestly Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and like Interstellar all together.
I'm
there
in
you go.
100%. Let's
I'm
do
on
this.
board with that.
Time traveling Jedi dinosaurs. Yes, let's do this.
Kai, thank you so much for being on the show. We definitely wish you well, man. I can't wait for more fans to talk about it. We're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con this year, and I think there's going to be a lot of talk of this, and I can't wait to engage with people. Knowing what we know here as far as how you did it, we wish you the best, and we really, really hope that you continue doing this stuff. Continue doing this stuff for the fans. It really, really works.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a blast, and maybe I'll come to that Comic-Con.
Do it.
Ooh. I hope someone invites him. I hope someone invites him and puts him on a panel about this, because that would be awesome, actually.
Yeah,
That'd be wild.
you'll be my new co-host. My co-host just randomly lost his job just now. So Kai, where can folks
Can I
find
get
you on social
unemployment
media?
benefits?
Yeah, that means that, okay. You have to understand, when I talk, that means quiet you.
That's why you lost your job.
No, James is the podcast. But Kai, where can folks find you on social media and your website so we can go to check on you?
Yeah, KaiPatterson.com is my website. It's also KaiPattersonFilms.com. You can pretty much find all of my socials on my website. But basically, Kai Patterson Films across all social, except for Twitter. I'm Kai Patterson 13 because films wouldn't fit. So yeah, but yeah, just also I think if you just Google Kai Patterson at this point, you'll find something about me. So
awesome.
Yeah,
James, where can folks find you on social media?
At the Clean Comedy Podcast, because last time I said it and it sounded weird when I said it, so just that's where, and you can go there. Or jamesdcrevison.com, but that doesn't have as much stuff anymore. I'm going to be putting screenplays and stuff I'm writing. I'm going to start looking for a manager this year. I put it off for about 3 years, and I should have looked for a manager a long time ago. But now that I'm getting a lot of more stuff, I really need a manager. So if you're a manager and listening to this and you want a writer that's going to produce for you, call me up. I got you.
same.
All right,
Kai and I will write something epic together, and
Yeah.
then you'll definitely be able to sell that.
You guys will definitely get hired or get someone to be hired. Don't worry. You'll be fine. You folks can find me on Instagram at Damien_DeCarlo, also at makingitgeek.com. Until next time, everybody, keep calm and geek out. Good night.